and wonderful. Wonderful. Okay, so welcome. Hi, it's Kathy Frey here from IMCO, from the International Integrated Maternity Healthcare Organisation, and welcome along to this week's webinar. And I want to say a big hello and welcome to Dr. Robin Charlton. Say hello, Robin.
Hi, thank you very much, Kathy. Nice to see you again.
Yes, it is wonderful to have Robin here again, and we're going to be going over a really such a relevant topic today, of all about, how taking care of the caregivers, basically. And we know a lot of the audience here are health practitioners, and particularly in my biased opinion, the birth practitioners, because they're dealing with shift work and crazy hours and a real roller coaster ride often of how stressful their actual day is, from something that's very easy to deal with to something that's very medically complicated and an emergency to deal with. And all of that is so taking care of the caregivers, which applies to mothers as well. Ultimate caregiver. So let me do a little bit of an introduction about Robin. And so Dr. Robin Charlton is a perinatal mental health psychiatrist and a mother of 3 children, and she has over 20 years of experience in mental health, and have specialized in how we can train our brain for being for well-being and for more resilience. And she's developed the mind fitness doctor through her extensive training, which we'll learn a little bit more about today. And because her training background comes from mindfulness coaching and therapy, mindfulness and yoga, and she's also a co-owner of Compassion Coaching, and it's really, I guess, Robin's vision, she'll explain more, to help people train in mind fitness, which is similar to how we train in physical fitness, where we, developing our individualized mind fitness self-care plan. And today she's prepared a presentation to talk about the neuroscience behind empathy, compassion, and caregiver fatigue, and how it is pertinent to working with mothers and babies, as well as for ourselves. And boy, seeing as we're still very much in an environment of COVID everywhere, we've got a lot of healthcare giver fatigue, that's for sure. And so just a little bit of housekeeping before I hand over to Robin, and just a reminder that we'd love to know where you are in the world, those that are tuned in here live. So feel free to type into the chat whereabouts you are in the world and your role as a healthcare professional, or maybe you're a mother expecting. And also just a reminder that in the Q&A section, which is that button sort of down below on most screens, if you have any questions for Robin, please type them in there, and we'll absolutely make sure that we get those addressed during this webinar. So I'm going to hand over to Robin, and please, because I know she's got a PowerPoint to share with you today as well.
Great, thank you very much, Kathy. Let's just do all the technology things. Yay, it worked.
Perfect.
So taking care for caregiving. So I thought we'd just arrive here with a little check-in before I introduce myself. So just the invitation is for you to make yourself comfortable. If you're wanting to take a moment to lie on the floor and do a micro self-care practice, you can do that. And so we're just checking in, giving ourselves the permission to maybe come into our bodies. And if it's available to you today, come into your breath. And just doing a couple of breaths and releasing and letting go of the hustle and bustle that's brought you here today, and letting go of your mental to-do list. And giving yourself this precious gift of being right here, right now in the seminar. Maybe scanning your body and asking yourself the question, how charged is my battery right now? And perhaps rating it out of 10. I'm drained and I definitely need a charge. We all know what that feels like, that common humanity. I'm struggling a little bit. Actually feeling a little bit meh. Us in New Zealand, we've got lockdown languishing. I'm feeling okay. I'm actually feeling good. I started my day or ending my day wherever you are. Some people are from around the world, up in Canada. Or my battery is actually fully charged. So just giving yourself a little bit of a check-in. And then recognizing that all of us that are here live on this webinar or watching later, we're all connected by that common humanity of all having these feelings or experiences of our batteries being drained or recharged. We're not alone. And so just asking yourself the question, what do I need today to do or feel to recharge my battery? Knowing that we are all here in some caregiving capacity, but giving yourself the permission to include yourself in that caregiving circle. It may be as simple as putting your feet on the ground, taking a few breaths to let go of some tension, talking to yourself in a kinder way. We'll talk about that later. We're actually practicing some fierce self-compassion. So setting our boundaries and saying no. In your own time and when you're ready, maybe when you've got an answer to the question, maybe rating your battery out of 10, and then coming back to your virtual screen. So this is a little bit of a micro self-care practice that we can do during our day to just give ourselves permission to charge our battery. There's so many things that drain our battery throughout the day, and we'll explain about that. So who am I? So I thought I'd introduce myself by talking about my caregiving roles. So as Kathy said, I am a mother of 3 children. I have 2 Labradors. I also have currently caregiving for elderly in-laws and all of that entails. So that sandwich generation of caregiving for kids and then caregiving for elderly in-laws. I'm also a perinatal psychiatrist, so I caregive for mums who are caring. And I guess when I look back on my life, the reason why I'm so passionate about who cares for the carers is that I had an experience when I was a medical student and my boyfriend was a health surgeon at that time, and he had a sudden death. And that I realized that especially in health professions, there is not really that awareness about the fact that we actually need to care for ourselves so that we can go on caring for others. and who cares for the carers. It's really, really important, especially in these times of COVID, I think. I know a lot of midwives that are really, really struggling at the moment with the fact that their mothers are struggling during this time. It's been a really, really difficult time to have a baby, I think, during COVID. So my journey to mindful self-compassion is that I've always been interested in mindfulness-based therapies as a psychiatrist, how you can rewire your brain, kind of using minimum pharmacology. But so I've done extensive training in that over the years, but actually mindful self-compassion changed my life. So I was experiencing caregiver fatigue, burnout about 2 years ago, and it gave me that permission to look at doing things in a different way. So now I work more for myself. I'm setting up my own business, and I'm doing more about what I'm passionate about, so helping healthcare professionals as well as mums and babies. So what are we going to cover today? I'm going to cover the neuroscience of caregiver fatigue, how self-compassion can help. We'll do a little bit of an exercise to see, so a lot of this presentation is actually really experiential. I want you to be able to take away things that you can do in your busy lives while you're caring for others. So in the middle of the night when your baby's crying and things not feeding, or when you're a healthcare professional and something challenging happens for you. And then we'll talk about what is mindful self-compassion and maybe some of the misgivings, if we have any time, about that, because a lot of people feel that it's self-indulgent, but we'll actually explain why it isn't. So the neuroscience of caregiver fatigue. So the basis behind this is that we have these brain cells in our brain. So we are all wired for social connection. And that what are the basis of this is these brain cells in our brains called mirror neurons. And what actually happens is that through those mirror neurons, we emotionally resonate with other people that we are in connection with. So we feel their pain, we feel their joy, we feel everything that they are feeling, and that's what it means to be human. But when the people that we are caring for are in distress, so if our baby is crying, or if our toddler's having a tantrum, or if there is something really, and for midwives, if you're in a really emergency situation and there's a lot of crisis kind of happening, what you're feeling is actually you're feeling other people's pain around you. And what that can do is that can actually activate your sympathetic nervous system and put you into flight or fight. And so being aware of what you are feeling is actually not just your own feelings, it's the other people around you. And I think we all know about this, about how we can spiral into that emotional contagion effect. If everything around us is a little bit negative, other people spiral downwards. And we all know this as mothers of children. Or if we are positive and have gratitude and compassion and are calm ourselves, then that ripples outwards. So this is actually the basis of vicarious traumatization. So something called post-traumatic stress disorder that some people get in caregiving roles. And some people have started to call it compassion fatigue, but it's actually empathy fatigue. So empathy is I feel you, and compassion is I hold you. And so they've done a whole lot of scans of people who they've seen that these pain centers have been lit up. And then when people practice self-compassion, and I'll explain how that works, that other centers, the calming centers, light up. And so basically what happens is that if we take back time to check in with ourselves, acknowledge that it's difficult. Other people would find it difficult in that situation. So we did that in the beginning meditation. The base, we'll go into this later, but this is the basis of mindful self-compassion. Ow, this hurts. I'm not alone. And what can I do to help myself? And so if we check in with ourselves and calm our own nervous system, and I'll give you some ways to do that, then what happens is that the people that we are caring for, they also have their nervous system calmed through that mirror neuron. So our calming nervous system talks to the other, or our, if we're experiencing joy, then that can go to other people. If we're experiencing gratitude, then that can go to people. So it's not just about calming, but if we regulate our emotions to have more of those calming and positive emotions, what actually happens is that we help other people to regulate their emotions. So this is the science of co-regulation. So if you're a mum with a baby, you're actually helping your baby to manage their emotions by managing your own. So that's why it's not self-indulgent. And research has shown that this is the single most effective thing that you can do for your baby's mental health going forward. And so research shows that if toddlers and teenagers can have that ability to regulate their emotions, then their mental health and resilience and success as what we all want as adults is really good. And so, yeah, so including ourselves in that caregiving circle is so important, and not so self-indulgent, because we are actually helping everybody else through our mirror neurons. And so self-compassion and other practices that we can do are practices that you can do in the moment while you're caregiving. So when you're at work, in your busy day, when your baby has refluxes and is not settling, when your baby when your toddler is tantruming, and so you're feeling that compassion for your empathetic distress, knowing it's not only your own emotions that you're feeling, not reacting to it, calming yourself, activating your calming nervous system. And then, as we explained, that empathetic resonance goes both ways. So we feel other people's, but then we can also affect other people. So what is self-compassion? So self-compassion is simply giving yourself the same kindness, care, and support when you are feeling stressed, down, or in pain that you would give to a loved one, such as a child or a friend. And what research has shown is what this does is it activates that calming parasympathetic nervous system. So I thought we'd do a little bit of an exercise so that you can get a little bit of a feel for this. So if you have a pen and paper, sorry I didn't tell you that, then that would be good. Otherwise you can just think about through this exercise. So maybe thinking of a time or various times when you've had a close friend who was suffering in some way. Not a partner or family member, they are sometimes too close, but a friend you cared about who was struggling. For example, maybe your friend had a misfortune, failed, or felt inadequate. How do you typically respond to your friends in such situations? What do you say? What tone do you use? How is your posture? What non-verbal gestures do you use? So maybe writing down what you've discovered, or if you don't have a pen and paper, maybe just thinking about how you would treat your friend. Now thinking about various times when you were suffering in some way, had a misfortune, failed, or felt inadequate. How do you typically respond to yourself in these situations? What do you say? What tone do you use? Sometimes it's all in the tone of voice we use with ourselves. Your posture, non-verbal gestures. And then maybe writing down what you may have learned. Did you notice any patterns of difference in how you respond to yourself and others? Maybe if you'd like to put something in the chat box. So it might be difficult for people to do that, but yeah, it's always very illuminating doing this exercise about how with my friend, I slow down, with myself, I speed up. Yeah. So you probably find when you slow down that your body posture is a lot more open. When you slow down, your tone of voice is probably softer. And yeah, interesting to see what your tone of voice might be as well. So it's so that common humanity about, it's actually how we are wired. We have something in our brain called the default mode network that is set up from being able to, the survival of us. And it's everybody, it is that our inner critic is what is hardwired into us. And so that's why we need to train our brains to be more compassionate to ourselves. We're really wired and we are so good at being compassionate to our friends, to the people that we are caring for, but not necessarily for ourselves. Thank you for sharing. So, what is self-compassion? Well, what is mindful self-compassion? So, basically, I have done training for the last 18 months with the Centre for Mindful Self-Compassion, and that has Kristen Neff and Chris Germer. Kristen Neff's just written a book called Fierce Self-Compassion, which is really amazing. She's got other books, but that's a great book. But she has, through research herself as a psychologist, she's come up with these 3 components of mindful self-compassion. And I'm just going to put myself back a little bit because I'm going to just show you with gestures of mindful self-compassion. You can join in if you'd like to, but yeah, it just explains what it is without me talking at you. So if you hold up your hands, what we hold in our hands is the pain of life. As my friend said, life gets lifey. But what happens is when we cause ourselves suffering. So yeah, suffering equals pain times resistance. So when we resist what is, I do not want this to be as it is. This is when we cause ourselves suffering. We cause ourselves suffering through our striving for wanting more, doing more, and we cause ourselves suffering from that internal critic, so beating ourselves up. And what also happens when we do all of this is that we become really fused with our thoughts. So we become mindless. So we can't see things for what they are. We're not really involved in life. How can you hug your child or care for others when we're constantly fused to our thoughts and our emotions? And so we need the mindfulness part to become self-compassionate. So we need to come into the present moment with our senses. So I use the acronym SOAR for mindfulness. So use our senses to come into the present moment, and allows us to observe our thoughts and our feelings, the O of SOAR, accept our feelings for what they are, and then in that process is that we gradually release the resistance, and we release that inner critic, and we release that striving, and we see our emotions for what they are. We say, this is hard, life is hard, and then we recognize our common humanity. So if we bring our arms out wide, our common humanity on the screen, other people feel this way. We are not alone. So our suffering sometimes makes us feel really alone. And then asking ourselves, like we did with that battery, about how we need to recharge ourselves. What do I need right now? Do I need that yin self-compassion? So that loving connectedness, talking to ourselves like we would talk to a friend, maybe having that kind of, if you have your hands on your heart, some people find that quite soothing. Or do we need the yang part of self-compassion? So as healthcare professionals, or even as mums, you know, I had to say when I was bringing up my children that no, I need to have time to myself. I can't caregive for everybody else. I need a walk in the morning by myself. So that's yang compassion. And part of yang compassion is also how we can motivate ourselves with compassion, becoming that inner coach rather than that inner critic. So if you think of a donkey, it's about motivating ourselves rather than with a whip, the internal critic, with a carrot in front of us. Research shows that actually when we can do that, that we can recover from our perceived failures, or not look at life as failures, that mistakes are part of life, and that we can, research shows that we have that growth mindset. So it's kind of talking a little bit to the misgivings around self-compassion. So the beliefs where that it's self-indulgent, we know now from the neuroscience behind it that it's not selfish. We know that we won't lose our motivation if we lose our internal critic. And that actually it helps us to set our boundaries and become more fiercely self-compassionate. So I'll just go through, there's a lot of research about why it works. It lowers physical, like inflammation and physical stuff, as well as emotional stuff, decreased anxiety, depression, not so much rumination. We're able to cope better with situations, and we're likely to persist in the face of failure. And we're actually more likely to not have that empathetic caregiver fatigue, and we're able to still be compassionate in our caregiving relationships, which is why we've come into these roles in the first place. So I thought that we would just have another practice. So this is another micro self-care practice. Looking at the time. So this is called giving and receiving compassion. So this is something you can do when your baby is on your lap, when you are in a situation where you might have a challenging interpersonal relationship. If the breath is not something that you find is good for you, then you have as a lot of people do, focusing on the breath can sometimes not be a good thing, then you have my utter permission to go and do something else. So the basis of mindful self-compassion is doing what works for you and keeping yourself safe. But if you can access your breath today, maybe taking a few deep, relaxing breaths, noticing how your breath nourishes your body as you inhale and soothes your body as you exhale. Letting your body, your breathing find its own natural rhythm like waves on a shore. And just continue to feel the sensation of breathing in and breathing out. And if you like, allowing yourself to be gently rocked and caressed by the rhythm of your breathing. Now focusing your attention on your in-breath only. Letting yourself savor the sensation of breathing in, one breath after another. Perhaps noticing how the in-breath energizes your body. And if you like, as you breathe in, breathing in kindness and compassion for yourself. Just feeling the quality of kindness and compassion as you breathe in. Or if you prefer, letting a word or image of kindness ride in on your breathing. Maybe it's a color. Now shifting your focus to your out breath. Feeling your body breathe out. Feeling the ease of exhalation. Now calling to mind someone who you love or someone who is struggling and needs compassion. Visualize that person clearly in your mind. Begin directing your out breath to this person, offering the ease of breathing out. If you wish, sending kindness and compassion to this person with each out breath, one breath after another. If it is easier for you, you can breathe out to others in general or to people in your community rather than visualizing a particular person. Now focusing again on the sensations of both breathing in and out, savoring the sensation of breathing in and out. Beginning to breathe in for yourself and out for the other person or persons. In for me and out for you. One for me, one for you. As you breathe, drawing kindness and compassion in for yourself and sending something good out to another. And feel free to adjust the balance between breathing in and out. 5 for me and 1 for you. 1 for me and 2 for you. Or just let it be an equal flow, whatever feels right to you at this moment. Letting go of any unnecessary effort, allowing the meditation to be as easy as breathing. Allowing your breath to flow in and out like the ocean going in and out, a limitless, boundless flow. Letting yourself be a part of this limitless, boundless flow, an ocean of compassion. And when you're ready and in your own time, letting go of the meditation and letting yourself be just as you are, feeling just as you are. And so I've also developed something called the mindfulness method of self-care. So I'll just go through some micro self-care practices. So we've done to finish. So we're just about to finish. We've done the battery. We have done breathing in and out, compassion. So those are things that you can use in your busy day. We have also touched on what's called the parenting break or the self-compassionate break, which is those 3 parts of mindful self-compassion. So mindfulness, this hurts, be mindful of our emotion, I'm not alone, and then what do I need? So just checking in with yourself, what do I need? What do I need? And then we have the soaring method as well. So soaring is based on acceptance and commitment therapy and positive neuroplasticity. And the soar that we talked about was the mindfulness part, and the ing is asking ourselves what we need in this moment. So I'll just go through a few quickly for you. So S is coming to you to anchor yourself in the present. So when you open your eyes in the morning, observe 3 things you can see. And then repeat that during the day. So it's your senses are your sight, your hearing, your smell, your taste, your sensations. As you get out of bed, notice the sensations of your feet on the floor. When you're having a shower, notice the sensations of the water on your body. Taste your breakfast mindfully. Use your sense of smell. Take lavender or moisturizer with you to work. Stop to notice the sounds as you walk into work or as you are caregiving for your baby, as you take them for a walk. Feel the sensations of washing your hands, perhaps washing away the last consultation if you're a healthcare professional. washing away the empathetic distress, washing away, bringing yourself into the next presentation. Just using the sensations of your breath to activate your calming nervous system, reminding yourself on your phone, perhaps doing it as you're logging into your computer before entering a room or entering a meeting. The O is observing how charged your battery is. Then you can name your emotions to tame them, and you allow and you accept them, the A. And then the R is releasing your thoughts with cognitive diffusion. But as you go through your day, just being aware of releasing your tension, releasing that resistance and striving. Recognizing our common humanity, that we're all the same. And then investigating what we need, the I. Is it self-compassion? Is it what we've been talking about, that yin and that yang self-compassion, setting boundaries? Do we need to extend ourselves into our caregiving circle, the compassion in and out? Do we need to actually practice self-care practices, physical practices like stopping for a break, having a coffee, eating our lunch? Or do we want to practice gratitude during the day? So, and extending it to the team. So telling others in your team what you're grateful for, telling your family what you're grateful for. The N is for nourishing it, because we know that with positive neuroplasticity, we need to give it time for our brain to rewire. So we nourish it, and we give it 3 breaths to bring in those positive feelings and emotions into our body. So those are just some little micro self-care practices that you can give into your day. Maybe if they've gone a bit fast, you might want to re-watch this. But yeah, I'm really, really happy. Sorry, I've gone a little bit over time, Kathy, but I thought I'd just finished with the serenity prayer. So may we accept the things we cannot change. May we have courage to change the things we can. And may we gain the wisdom to know the difference. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, namaste. Back at you, Robin. Just beautiful. Thank you so much. And some of the chat that's come through there today, it's really deep, and you know, it opens up our own vulnerability to you know, make those comments. So you know, we don't treat that lightly, and we appreciate those of you who are live today, who chose to throw in some commentary in there. That was, you know, it's we respect that, so thank you. One of the questions that has come through that we haven't covered off was that a mum has made the comment that sometimes motherhood, you know, can feel very isolating, and her question is, you know, do we need other people to practice self-compassion, you know, or is it something that we do alone?
Well, I think just recognizing that other mothers feel alone brings us back together. You know, that it is totally, I remember feeling so isolated as a new mum. And my mothers and baby group was my lifesaver, actually, to go and actually talk to them and say, oh yeah, my baby's still not sleeping at 2 through the night, and this is happening, and these are my challenges. And yeah, and so kind of practicing that self-compassion within a group is really good. I mean, I actually teach this within a group. Yeah,
they can be so valuable. Sorry.
You go. No, you go first. I'll go after you.
Yeah, you know, they just can be so valuable, and I think that a lot of times leading up to a first pregnancy or a first birth, let's say, women can be, ho-hum a little bit perhaps about their girlfriend friendships. But then after having a baby, and that aftermath of the first few months, if you do, have some times when you get together with other mothers who are at a similar gestation of their baby. And that's kind of important, because what you don't always want to be with is catching up with a girlfriend who may have a baby that's 6 months or 12 months older than yours, and they can tend to be full of a lot of
advice,
knowledge that they're dying to pass on to you, and you just feel like you kind of come away feeling like, oh my God, I know nothing. Whereas
not
when
good
you're
enough.
around women who are, I always say, sort of, up to the same, boat in the bathtub stage that you are up to, then it's the camaraderie is amazing. And I remember the very first time after I'd had a first baby, that I was at a group of women that had sort of come away from our antenatal education, and the very first time one of those women broke into tears. And I could just, it was like, it almost at that moment, it gave everybody in that room permission to feel like life was sucking.
Totally.
Right. And the pretenses that everything was wonderful, just went down, and people were like, oh my God, I feel that way too. So that aloneness that you feel in motherhood is so common. And the solution is really oftentimes just being around other women who are at a similar stage to you. So that might be a case these days of finding that in a really decent Facebook chat group, Zooming as well. And one of the other things that I've learned that I'll throw in there, because this is something that I learned after my kids were little, and it might have been really helpful if I knew it a little early in life. Talking about self-compassion, is that I sort of these days regard myself here, that person that you see here, as being a small piece of my higher self. So and so when I feel like this piece of me that you see is stuffed up, I kind of go to my higher self and go, oh, that's just a little piece of me, rather than saying that this is all of me. Does that make sense? So I've kind of learned to say to myself, some of the favorite things I'll say to myself is, I can never get it all right all the time.
No, we can just be a good enough mother. We're not a perfect mother. We're a good enough mother. Winnicott, there's a psychiatrist that said that you are only a good enough mother. You can only do the best you can do with what you've got at the time. That's all you can do.
It's not about being the best mother you can be. Never.
No.
Because you drive yourself insane doing that.
There's no friggin' perfectionism.
No, it's about being a good enough mother. And just, if you think that most of the time you're trying to get it right, and sometimes you're going to really stuff it up, you're right on track.
Totally. Life's about making mistakes.
I would say to myself, I'll never get it right all the time. I will never get it done. I will never get everything done. And the other thing that striving. And the other thing I'll throw in there these days is telling myself everything always works out for me. So
Trust
that's just me throwing
through the mindful self-compassion program, we develop loving kindness phrases for yourself. So one of mine is, may I let go and trust the path. May I be kind to myself. May I accept myself just as I am. So and I practice that every day. So and
having those lines that you say you know, I'm on my path of least resistance.
Yeah.
So,
And did you feel it softening in your body, the letting go? You know, that's the poetry that you need to hear at this time. Everyone's poetry is different.
Everybody's poetry is different. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And it's finding those lines that resonate with you.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I do this course for mums, 6-week mindful self-compassion for pregnancy and beyond. So yeah, my vision is to try and connect to it's just starting, and to give some people some skills when their babies are young and beyond. It's parenting, really doesn't stop. And to just have that like you said, that connection. It's more about even connecting with the other women on the course, that's you know, that, and having that common humanity, that we're not alone. So yeah,
beautiful.
That's just started teaching that now, last week. But if people want to join,
do you want to just
and health professionals?
Can you just at this point just go over your contact details as well, because because not everybody.
Do you want me to put it in the do you want me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, you could type it in there. That would be great. And then just explain your contact details as well. That would be good in case anybody wants to touch base with you. I'm
not very good at putting that link into the chat. So it's Mind
so you want to put the you want to click on it so that it says that it's going to everyone, and then you can put your details in there.
Okay, and then so I have 2 courses that have just started: Mindful Self-Compassion for Healthcare Professionals, which we do this, and for pregnancy and beyond, so caring for the carers. And it will be so I'm going to open and I'm not very good at doing this. Don't
worry, I can type it in. Just
okay. So mindfitnessdoctor.co.nz. It won't have the
mindfitnessdoctor, all one word.
Yep. .co.nz. Yep.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I can send you some of the links with the recordings as well, so people can see that.
Yes, we can include. So for those of you that are watching this live or have registered to watch this webinar and are seeing it later, 24 hours after the live recording is when you will receive an automated message from Zoom where we can include some links for you that Robin will put together. And so look, we'll need to wind it up, but if there's anything else, Robin, you would like to conclude with?
Just, you know, always give yourself permission to include yourself in that caregiving circle. Like, it's so important. It's really, really important. And it's not just for yourself, it's for the people that you are caring for. So yeah, and that took me a long time to learn that lesson. So give yourself permission to be a slow learner in that as well.
Yeah. Yes. And you know, isn't it goes back to that whole thing on the airplane of, you know, that
yes, the oxygen mask,
you know, oxygen mask to you first, then you're in a situation to be able to help others. And you know, when you are a caregiver as a health professional, you know, though you do run that risk of becoming depleted, and it's so fulfilling in so many ways. So it does top you up as well, but it's that balance. And when you are a healthcare professional who is in the real coalface of emergencies as well, I would say particularly our A&E staff, our birthing street midwives,
it's
our
so hard for them. So hard.
You know, our anesthesiologists, you guys are all basically, we are all basically adrenaline junkies. That's why you choose that, you enjoy that role, where 1 minute everything is tickety-boo and the next minute you're dealing with a life-threatening emergency. And to deal with that environment, and then, you know, when 4 o'clock you're saving someone's life, and at 7 o'clock you're peeling the potatoes. It's a crazy kind of life to live.
Totally.
And so we have to be very, very careful to, avoid physically that adrenal fatigue as well as the emotional fatigue. Yeah, which is another whole topic. But anyway, I just recognize that, being around midwives, I know that most of us are adrenaline junkies.
Totally.
We wouldn't do the job.
Yeah. And compassionate.
Yeah.
So very compassionate.
Very, yeah. So putting that all together, we are in roles where we're very taxed.
Yeah.
So we have to be very generous to ourselves.
Totally.
And the same goes to anybody who's a mother. So you're exactly the same.
Yeah, you're a caregiver as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But thank you so much, everybody, for participating today. And
thank you,
Robin. It was neat to have you here again. And so thank you, everybody, and we look forward to seeing some of you next week at our next live webinar. And have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.